Okay guys, and welcome back to another video in the playlist on Unit 3.1 in the IB macroeconomic syllabus. What we're going to look at in this video, and again like most things here, this is the introduction into macroeconomics essentially, okay? So everything that we're going to cover here, we're going to cover in much greater detail, not just in this video but previous and subsequent videos in this playlist. We're most likely going to cover almost everything in much greater detail in later subunits. And right now what we're going to do is we're going to look at calculating the rate of inflation by using a price index, in this case the GDP deflator. So I've borrowed this table from the one that we used in the previous video. And what we're trying to do now is trying to calculate the rate of inflation. So inflation is a sustained increase in the general level of prices or a sustained increase in the average price level. Okay, so what we're trying to do now is measure how quickly prices may rise or fall using index values. Okay, that's what we're doing. And the way that we measure the rate of inflation is we compare 2 years and we take the GDP deflator, which is these numbers here. This is the index numbers, okay, the GDP deflator in the second period, and we take away the GDP deflator from the first period and we divide it by that GDP deflator in the first period, multiplying that answer by 100 over 1. So what I'm going to do now is in every single one of these I am comparing the change in prices over like a period. So this is 2017. So what we're going to say is we have measured the prices on the 31st of December 2017, and then we've compared them to the average price level in this country on the 31st of December 2017, and we've compared them to the average price level in the exact same country on the 31st of December 2018. So therefore, if that's true, we've got the inflation rate for 2018. Right, now I'm just going to let the numbers come up itself and then I'll explain where I'm getting them from. Okay, so what we've got now is GDP deflator 2. So we're comparing these 2 years, 2018, 2017. And again, 31st of December 2017, 31st of December 2018. And what I'm getting now is the index value, okay, of the price deflator. There is another way that we can measure inflation called the consumer price index, and like pretty much every video on this playlist, more on that later. Okay, but we've got 110, this 110 here. So we're using this formula here, guys, this whole formula here, okay? So it's 110 in 2018 minus 100 in 2017 divided by 100, because we're comparing these 2 years. This is the first index value, this is the second index value, and then we multiply by 100 over 1. So we've got 110 minus 100, that's 10, okay, and that whole thing is going to be over 100, and then we've got to multiply that by 100 over 1, no problem there. So 10 multiplied by 100 is 1,000, and 100 multiplied by 1 is simply 100, and therefore we get an answer of 10%. Now, be very, very careful what you're doing here, guys. This formula will always work, and some people don't trust their mathematical ability, and that's fine. That's there's no problem with that. But what I'm saying to you guys is that when you are comparing any index value to the base year, all you have to do is take away 100 and you will get the rate of inflation. So if we're comparing the rate of inflation between 2021 and 2017, this is 150 minus 100, which is 50. And that means that prices have risen 50% between 2017 and 2021, and the same is true for all of them, but you can only do that when you're comparing it to the base year. And inflation is a sustained increase in the average price level, usually measured year on year. You can measure it in a quarter, which is every 3 months, and it's done that way too, but usually it's year on year. So you can only do that little sneak cheat between 1 year and the base year. You can't do it between any others. Every other year, please use that formula. Now, again, I'm saying the rate of inflation in 2019, this is between the 31st of December 2018 and 31st of December 2019. So it's GDP deflator to the price index of the second period minus the price index of the first period divided by the price index of the first period multiplied by 100 over 1. 125 minus 110 is this 15 here, and that's over 110. And now what we have to do is multiply it, as always, by 100 over 1. 15 multiplied by 100 is 1,500, and 110 multiplied by 1 is simply 110. Get the calculator out, guys, and then you divide top by the bottom, and we get 13.64%. Now, what that actually means, guys, and I'll actually go through 2017 because we got an answer of, or 2017 2018 because we got an answer of 10%, and now I'm going to go from 2018 2019 because we got an answer of 13.64%. What that means is if you went to the local shop and you bought your average basket of goods, whatever you tend to buy every week, okay, if in 2017 you had to give over €100, forgive me, I'm Irish so I use the euro, but $100, €100, 100 yen, whatever it is, in 2018 to buy the exact same basket of goods in the exact same quantity, you would have to give over €110. Okay, because there was a 10% increase. Now between 2018 and 2019, I know this says 110, but we've just calculated that the inflation rate between 2018 and 2019 was 13.64%. So if, I know this says 110, but if you in 2018 you had to give €100 in order to buy your average basket of goods, okay, your average weekly shop, in 2019 to buy the exact same goods, you would have to give €113.64. Okay, so what we're saying is you have to give over more of your currency to get the exact same amount of goods when inflation is occurring. Okay, now on to 2020. Okay, so again now, and I did explicitly say this in the last video, if we can see that 2018's index value was higher than 2017, that means there was inflation between 2017 and 2018. As we can see, 2019's index value was higher than 2018. That means that there was inflation, there was an increase in the average price level between 2018 and 2019. We can see here that the index value of 2020 is lower than 2019. That actually means there was deflation. That actually means that prices have fallen, they have become lower. So let's look at what that means. So again, it's the second index value minus the first index value divided by the first index value, all multiplied by 100 over 1. Well, 120 minus 125 is minus 5, guys. Please be careful of that. And that's still over 125. And then what we have to do is multiply by 100 over 1. Well, minus 5 times 100 is minus 500. And then 125 by 1, is 125. Calculators out if necessary, or if you're in HL, I'm sure you can do that in your HL mathematics, I'm sure you can do that in your head. So we get minus 500 divided by 125, which is minus 4%. Now let's explain this again, just using the €100 example. In 2019, if you had to give over €100 for your average weekly shop, in 2020, because prices has fallen, there has been deflation, which is a sustained fall in the average price level. That means that in 2020, you would only have to give over €96. Okay, so prices have actually been reduced. Now we can see between 2020 and 2021, the index value has risen, so that we definitely know that prices have gone up. So again, what we're saying is, and I hope you're not bored, or even if you are bored, I hope you're bored because you understand it so well by this stage. That would be amazing, okay? So what we're saying here is that the index value in the second period minus the index value in the first period divided by the index value in the first period multiplied by 100 over 1. And again, I am using this formula here. So 150 minus 120 is 30, and that's going to be over 120, which is this one here. I have to multiply that by 100 over 1, as I always do, and then 30 by 100 equals 3,000, and 120 multiplied by 1 is simply 120, and get the calculators out, guys, and what we find is a rise of 25%. Now, to be honest with you, all of the figures that we have given, we've had like 10 and 13.64 and 25%, those rates of inflation are actually really high. They are far higher than a sustainable rate of inflation for a healthy economy. Again, more on this in later videos, but I think, and I am kind of conservative in my view on economics, but I think an inflation rate of over 3%, it's time to start getting concerned about it. Maybe the government shouldn't do anything about it, but anything over 5%, I am saying, okay, the government should start to implement policies that would be aimed at reducing the average price level, the average price of all goods and services in the economy, okay? Now, so what I'm going to do now is, excuse me, I'm just going to put up this table here. And again, I know I'm comparing between 2017 and 2018, but if we say that it's the 31st of December 2017 to the 31st of December 2018, we can say that there was a 10% inflation rate. And then same is true for 2019, 2020, and 2021. So let's give it a bit of an analysis, a bit of an evaluation. Inflation rose from 10% in 2018, which is here, to 13.64% in 2019. Okay, no problem there. Deflation occurred between 2019, okay, which is here, and 2020. Okay, so what we're saying is 2019, which is here, to here, deflation occurred. Prices went down. Okay, now let's say this was plus 4%. I know it's not, but let's just say it was plus 4%. That still would mean that prices are rising, but at a slower rate. When inflation is reduced, but still positive, that is known as disinflation. Okay, so what we have now are three kind of, again, just introduction to ideas. We have inflation, which is a sustained increase in the general level of prices. Inflation here, here, and here. How do I know those numbers are positive? Okay, we have deflation, which is a sustained decrease in the general level of prices, which occurred in 2020. And I'm just saying between 2019 and 2020, there was deflation. That means when prices goes down. And we have this idea of disinflation, okay, which is when inflation is still positive, but it is lower than the previous year. So prices are still going up, but going up at a slower rate than they were previously. And that's disinflation. And the final point we'll make here, inflation occurred between 2020 and 2021. Absolutely it did. Like, there's no qualms about that, no ifs, ands or buts. I really hope, guys, that this made sense. I really hope that you understand how to do this and what we're doing this and why we're doing this, measuring the rate of inflation using index values, in this case the GDP deflator. And what we're saying here now is if you're ever unsure, just rewatch the video. I really hope that you have a greater understanding now, and thank you sincerely so very, very much for watching, and the very best of luck in your studies.